I remember the last time I saw them. They smiled like they always did, not just with their mouth but with their eyes. The kind of smile that made you feel safe. Like everything was okay. Like we were okay. We were sitting on the couch, wrapped in our usual routine. One of us reading, the other scrolling through something meaningless on their phone. There was no tension, no fight, just a normalcy. Love even. But somewhere inside of them, behind that calm expression, a decision had already been made. A slow unraveling had happened over weeks, maybe months, without me ever knowing. They didn't say a word. Not one honest conversation. Not one real moment where they looked me in the eye and said, "I'm not sure if this is still right for me." Or even, "I've been struggling lately." Nothing. And then one day out of nowhere, like someone flipped a switch, it was over. Not because we had stopped loving each other. Not because there was betrayal or abuse. No, it ended because they chose silence over honesty. Because they let resentment build like mold in a dark corner of a house. Unseen, unspoken, until it was too late to fix. And when they finally spoke, it wasn't with openness or healing. It was with finality. With coldness. With an excuse so vague and convenient, like timing or life being too hard, or not being ready for what I wanted, that it felt like a script they'd rehearsed while I was still smiling beside them. I stood there, heart pounding, trying to understand how this could be happening. How could they look at me like this, like a stranger? After all the nights we held each other, after all the dreams we built together. How could they walk away from everything we created, without giving me even the dignity of knowing it was crumbling? It took me a long time, longer than I'm proud of, to realize that this wasn't just about love ending. This was about cowardice. About fear dressed up as self-preservation. About someone choosing their own comfort over my right to know the truth. Because here's the thing. Breaking up is never easy. But pretending everything is fine while secretly checking out. That's cruelty. That's betrayal. That's emotional violence masked by kindness. You see, when someone chooses silence over communication, they're not just protecting themselves. They're robbing the other person of any chance to grow, to change, to fight for what they believed in. They take away the right to closure, to understanding, to healing. And worse, they make the person left behind question everything. Every memory, every word, every touch. Because suddenly, all those moments of joy weren't real. Or at least not mutual. And that breaks something deep inside. It fractures your trust not just in others but in yourself. How could I have missed it? Why didn't I do more? Was I ever truly loved, or was I just convenient? These questions don't go away quickly. They linger. They haunt. They become part of your story whether you want them to or not. And for a long time I blamed myself. I replayed every argument, every misstep, every time I failed to read their mind. I wondered if I had done something wrong, if I had somehow driven them away without knowing it, if I had been too much or not enough. But eventually I realized something important. None of it was my fault. Not the silence. Not the abandonment. Not the lack of honesty. That was theirs to carry. Because here's the truth. People who care about you, who are invested in the relationship, don't ghost you emotionally. They talk to you. They bring their concerns into the light. They give you the chance to meet them halfway or walk away together. They don't hide behind smiles while planning an exit strategy. That kind of behavior doesn't come from love. Comes from fear. From a deep-rooted inability to face discomfort. From childhood wounds that taught them that running is safer than staying. from a belief that vulnerability is weakness instead of courage. But here's the thing about running. You might escape the pain in the short term, but you leave destruction in your wake. You damage the people who trusted you most. You break their ability to believe in love again. You make them hesitate before opening their hearts, afraid that next time, they'll be blindsided once more. And that's not just sad. It's tragic. Because the bare minimum in love should be honesty. Not perfection. Not grand gestures. Not promises you can't keep. Just honesty. The willingness to show up, even when it's hard. Even when you're scared. Especially when you're scared. I think back to all the times I gave my all, only to be met with silence. All the times I tried to hold space for connection, unaware that the person across from me had already checked out. All the times I poured love into a relationship, thinking it was mutual, only to later find out it was one-sided. And I wonder, how many people out there are going through the same thing right now? How many are clinging to hope, unaware that the person they love has already let go? How many are waking up next to someone who sees them as a placeholder, not a future? To everyone who's ever been blindsided by a breakup, especially one that came out of nowhere, I see you, hear you, ache with you. What you experienced was not just heartbreak. It was emotional gaslighting. It was betrayal. It was trauma. And it was not your fault. You deserve better than silence. Better than excuses. Better than being discarded like a burden. You deserve someone who fights for you. Who talks to you. Who shows up for you even when it's hard. And if you haven't found that person yet, don't lose hope. The right love doesn't vanish without warning. It doesn't disappear overnight. Doesn't leave you guessing. It stands beside you, hand in hand, even when things get complicated. So if you've ever been blindsided by someone who walked away without a word, know this: you are not broken. You are not unworthy. You are not the reason they ran. You were simply brave enough to love deeply. And that is not a weakness. That is a gift. And one day someone will cherish that gift. Someone will see your worth. And they will never ever let go.